Okay, this is how to get a house young, and you don't necessarily have to be a teenager, although watching this as a teenager is something I wish I would have had as a reference, but I think you can still be like under 40 and most of these will still apply and you can probably knock it out in a couple of years. So let's get started. You just kind of want to know why. And it has to be a must. So is it a place for your family or is this like a business that, you're going to house hack, rent out a couple rooms and retire early? Either way, success is possible. This is me when I was 23 and I'm standing in front of our house. And we even had enough money with these tips I'm going to share with you to do some renovations, which I'm showing you here. So you need three things: credit, money, and a smart plan. And I have a lot of great tips for you at the end of the video as well as backup plans. So the most important question is your why power. If you have a good enough reason, you can do anything and it has to be a must. And why not you? I'm encouraging the doubters, anyone that thinks that they can't, like, why not? It's just a series of action steps that you would have to take. And I think this video will make it easier for the people that are doubters and people that are overconfident, make sure that you reaffirm why. So let's just dive into credit. According to my FICO, this is how the credit score is made up. I really don't care about this anymore, but it is important when you are starting to try to get a house. And this is basically how your score is comprised of, broken into these. So like 35% is your payment history, so on and so forth. And I'm going to give you a couple tips here on how to get a good credit score. And the purpose of that is just a better score ends up getting you like a better interest rate on your loan. So we just want to maximize all of these things. And you can see big chunks here is payment history and utilization. So you want to pay off any credit, not pay it off, but like meet the monthly payment, never miss a payment. And you want to have a lot of credit, like maybe you have like a $10,000 limit, but you only buy like a pack of gum and you pay it off. That means like you have the ability to use a lot, but you don't need it. And thus you look better to the companies because companies want to give money to people who really don't need it because they have the ability to pay it off. So because they make money by the interest. So credit for a mortgage. If you're young, you want to get on your parents' gas card. I did this and they opened a gas card in like 1998. And I was able to have like tons of years of history without ever owning that card. I signed onto that. And it was originally, we didn't even do this on purpose. It just kind of happened just in case I needed gas. Like if I ran out and I didn't have money on me, I wouldn't be stuck somewhere. But that ended up allowing me to like share their credit history. I would caution you on this though. If your parents do not pay the bill off, like that will hurt your credit score. So make sure you pick a responsible parent or, just make sure that you never miss a payment because again, this is 35% is like, do you pay on time and how long have you had an account open? So if you don't have a parent with a gas card, no problem. Maybe you went to college, maybe you have a loan. Just you kind of want some credit because if you have no history of a credit, then like the companies don't know how you behave with it. So you kind of have to demonstrate that hey, you're responsible. You have it, but you don't use it, or you have it and you're responsible with it. So what I did, and Graham Stephan kind of gave this advice back in like 2019 or whatever, was open some credit cards. I don't like it because I follow like Dave Ramsey a little bit where he says like don't get into debt, and I think that's largely constructive to heed that advice. But what was helpful is to get a credit card near the hardware store because if you get a house right and you can't afford, well, you shouldn't be in a position, but say you can't afford like an appliance like a refrigerator or your dishwasher goes out, you can buy yourself a little bit of time, like 30 days, to go ahead and solve the problem, the emergency, and then pay it off next month. So time is really important, and that's a good one to get because you can also, if you do, like we did, flooring, and we've done a whole bunch of projects that ended up costing like $50,000, and I can say that like the Lowe's card that we got, you got like 5% off. So that pretty much meant that we didn't have to like pay tax. And sometimes if you have a really big order, you could talk to like the store manager or someone at the pro desk and kind of say, hey, can you cut me, a discount? My order's over $10,000. Maybe that's a big number for some people, but it depends on like the home price, because like maybe the lower the price, the more work it'll need, and you can kind of scale in what you want to get. But anywho, it's good to get cards early, early as you can, so that you can get the hard inquiries over with. Because they'll run a credit check and make sure that hey, you're a good person to give a credit card to. They want you to have a credit card. They make 27% if you don't pay it. It's like tons of money for them. So it would be crazy if someone was brand new to getting credit and like they got declined. I guess whatever. I got a Discover card and I got an American Express card early, and then I got a Lowe's card because that was the hardware store nearest to me. But on your credit cards, you just want to use it on like gas and gum. It's proven that if you have a piece of plastic, you treat it differently than cash and you spend more. So only buy like necessities or something like really small and insignificant, and don't use it. Just pay it off at the end of every month, and you'll have a good credit score. If you already have a student loan, you don't really need to go out and open 3 credit cards. Just have like 3 lines of credit and make sure that you're showing good behavior every month and you're demonstrating that you're good with credit until you get your house. Then you can cut them up, disable them, or just keep them off to the side. It's also good that if you ever get a raise or you get married, that you increase how much money, you tell them how much money you're making, and they'll increase your credit limit. And this is important for that credit utilization, because the higher your limit and like you buy a stick of gum, it's a percentage of the total utilization. You want that as low as possible. So let's talk about money. And we have the sword and the shield. So your offense is the sword, and that's your income, and that's like the action you're taking, while your defense is saving, cutting, and it is like kind of what you're not doing. So you're just kind of like putting your shield up there. Before I get into that, action needs to be sustainable. So nothing matters if you never do anything. So execution is everything, and it doesn't even matter. You don't have to apply everything I'm about to share. I'm trying to give you as many options so that you have a chance to be successful. If you pick one of these, you're going to be better for it, in my opinion. It's important to do what resonates with you and what is in your control. Don't force anything, and don't be afraid to be a little uncomfortable. People that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. You might be doing things that your immediate family or friends think is weird or like not like you at all, but you know that you have a goal and these actions are in alignment with that. So if you're happy with it, you're going to stick with it. So, but don't let that get in your way of being a little bit uncomfortable. So it's kind of like that balance of challenging yourself but not forcing yourself. Okay, so I'm going to start with defense, because for me, for whatever reason, like increasing my income just that wasn't what like lit me up. And it was easier for me to save on like the income that I was making. Like I didn't feel like I could do too much to really increase my income. So defense was like, I had a big shield and I kept every buck that I made. So how I did this was I lived at home. When you live at home, you don't have to repair anything. You don't have to pay rent. I mean, and if you do, you kick your parents a little bit. There's so many things that you end up having to pay for when you get a house that you don't realize until you have a house. So living at home, if you can make it work with your parents, it's a good thing. But if you're not going to have a good relationship after staying home with your parents, you kind of have to flesh out how long you want to stay there. And going out, like your new normal, is work. You can do free friend events. That's what Alex Hormozi says, and I think that's cool. But I spent most of my time just working, because work to me was exciting. It was also during COVID, so it was kind of like the only thing that I could do anyway. And I wanted to take on as much responsibility, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. For college, a lot of people spend like $27,000 a year to go to a 4-year university, and you can get the same general education the first 2 years at a community college. So you can save a bunch of money that way, and you'll have a way less, uh, you'll have a lower bill at the end of going to school. So check that out. Avoid consumer debt and pay cash. And I have other suggestions here. Um, One that I'll bring your attention to is budgeting software. This seems counterintuitive because you're spending a little bit of money. Like we bought Ramsey Every Dollar budgeting app, not sponsored or anything. I've just been using it since 2020, and having a budget every single month and having it, you pay so that it automatically drafts your payments. It goes through your account, is made, and then you can just click and drag and create a budget and it's super easy. You just put in your income, you set a plan for every single dollar that you make, and then you track how you did throughout the month. And not only do you track, but you are living within your means of what you budgeted. So there's nothing that is a surprise, and you're being intentional with your money. That helped me a ton. This last one here, it takes two. Unless you have a really high income and you're putting a lot of time and effort into your education and income, it really does take two. So the earlier that you can find your person, a lot of people are meeting each other online. So if you're in high school, you might consider the people that are in your graduating class as potential spouses. I mean, it is really early to kind of make that decision. But at the same time, if you know, and you have a history of people's behavior, and most people don't change. So if they're a good person, they're going to be a good person, in my opinion. And you don't really get to vet people when you see them online. You swipe because, how they look or what they're telling you about themselves. You don't really get to see them objectively. So it's kind of cool to old school date and find people at work or at school. And that could be college as well. People from all walks of life could be watching this video. So I want to kind of open this up a little bit rather than the teenager I might be talking to. So I know getting a house might take 6 figures, especially like renovating it too, but I'll get into houses that are more affordable and kind of share my story. So money. This is the offense. So this is your sword. This is the action you're taking. You want to go into a field. And I wish someone had told me this. Basically, the kind of vibe that I got from teachers and family is that if you went to college, you got a degree, and that degree would kind of like ensure you a job because you would stand out. My own dad still thinks that this is the case, and I know a lot of other people do. And at least where I'm from, the teachers actually do get a pay increase for having a higher education, like a bachelor's or a master's. So I get why they share that information, because they're kind of incentivized to. And I think the tides have turned a lot on this, that a degree does not equal a job at all. I know tons of people that have loans up to their eyeballs or degrees, all this paper saying that they are educated, and they are still getting either entry jobs or, just not jobs at all. That is not, they're either not getting jobs or jobs that pertain to their specific bachelor's degree or major. So what I would tell my kids, and what I will tell my kids at this point in time, maybe that'll change, is to get into trades and government work or real estate. Government work has great benefits and great pay. There's always a need there. Real estate, everyone needs a home. Prices are continuing to go up. Commissions are pretty, I guess they've gotten docked in my area a little bit, but the prices are going up, so I feel like it kind of balances out. Trade work, we always need plumbers, electricians, surveyors, nurses, teachers, people that run society, essentially. And there's levels to it. There's always a ceiling. So in my field, I'm a land surveyor. There's the person that's carrying stuff. There's the person who is on the instrument. There's just levels and a ladder to climb. You don't want to get in somewhere where that is the one thing that you're doing and you can't grow. That is so annoying. So offensive. This one's a little scary if you're younger because it can seem intimidating because you literally have nothing. But I want to challenge maybe the young person and maybe my former young self. Um, Older people like young people. They're brand new. They have fresh eyes and perception a lot of the time. And if you're open and you're just talking with people like that, that's all. It can be a one simple conversation, and like you're closer with them, and then you can kind of share your goals and kind of listen to them and have a conversation. And you might find that they have a problem that you can help them with. I know my sister got into dog sitting this way, and that was an excellent gig to her while she was working her full time job to get a lot of extra money. Is house sitting and dog sitting, or babysitting, but also like she got into her job with the government through knowing through one of her friend's parents. So never write anyone off. Always be kind to people and try to help people out, and they'll help you out. So problems are opportunities, and people have problems. And if you solve problems for people, you make money. So continuing on the offense here, working all the time was my offense. Like I didn't have a super, I don't know, a trades job at the time felt like, maybe I should be in a cubicle somewhere pushing paper around, doing something more intellectual. But I got into land surveying, and initially that was very like physical labor and kind of felt like construction at times. But what's cool about that specific trade is that it does offer like office work. So it's kind of like a light blue collar job, right? Um, for me it offered office work because I had some competence and some skills with computers. So um, you know, you may not have skills initially. I didn't have any skills coming out of community college other than like growing up with computers, which did kind of set me apart from other people. Um, that's fine. You can trade all of your time to learn uh, the respective trade that you're in and make money. And you can work more than 40 hours. You can work overtime. Overtime pays you time and a half. If you're with a government time, maybe it's double penalty time if you're with like the post office. And that overtime can pay for your taxes at the end of the year, like your federal taxes. And that way you get to keep all the regular money that you make. And then if you get another job on top of that while working overtime, and I did that, and that kind of led me to burnout. But for a season, that was fine. I really saved a lot of money that way, living at home, working overtime, and a second job. So you don't want to do this forever. For a season of life, to save a bunch of money, to get a house is what I'm talking about here. So basically, your main job is to save for the house, your overtime pays for your taxes, and your second job pays for your fun. So you want to do the most at work instead of the least. A lot of people try to clock in at the last possible second, leave a couple minutes early, take a lunch break, do the bare minimum at work. I did the exact opposite. I came in early, I left last. I did the most I could possibly do. I learned as much as I possibly could because that's really the takeaway is to level up your skills as much as you can. And then the more responsibility you take on and you're showing effort and you can actually hold down, the more that the people above you will begin to rely on that and respect you for your work ethic. So some other tips here is just like you can pause and read that. I do want to get further down into this PowerPoint because I got some good stuff I want to share. So all of the savings that I made, I put into VT Sax, so you can open a individual account. You can also open person. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing what I did in my experience. So I opened up an account with Vanguard and I put my money in there to grow in VT Sax, and that models the S&P, which on average grows like 9-10%. Maybe after inflation and all of that, it's like 7 and 8. But basically, your money is growing and that helps you save a little bit more. Because say you made 10% on $10,000, that's $1,000 extra that you didn't have and that you don't have to work for in the future. And a beautiful thing is when you invest, you can pull out the amount that you did invest without having to pay taxes on that. So that's really cool. Fact check me on that if you don't think it's true. But that is what I did. Um, I spelled house wrong. That's so funny. I don't really care. But the house that you want to look for is grandma's house. We bought a super dated house, and I'll scroll back up here. You can see that this looks like grandma's house right here. We have lights with chains. We had before we renovated. We had old curtains. We had, carpeted floors and bookcases and just old everything. You see the carpet and the blue counters and whatever. Now we have granite and lights. They don't have like good lights in here and whatever. Like grandma's house is good because grandma's house has good bones, and all it takes is a little bit of elbow grease, and you can rip the carpet and the old blinds down, slap some new paint in there, put in some lights if you're a little bit handy, redo the floors, and you have like a turnkey house with like a little bit of work. Now I said I spent 50 grand. This was over 4 years this year, and we've done some heavier stuff in like the last couple of years here, but in that first couple of years, like the main thing that we did, our HVAC went out, our dishwasher went out, our microwave went out, and beyond that were all things that we chose. So we had an emergency fund to kind of anticipate something like that happening, of $10,000, and we needed that for the HVAC because we didn't want to be cold in the wintertime. But finding a house, you need to know what you're looking for. You want good bones, you want it to be dated, and you want to do something every single day, to just get a pulse on the market. So, because if you know different areas that you like, you can see trends, the more you're in tune with it. You want to put the word out there that you're looking for a house, you're saving for a house. If anyone is selling a house, come talk to you. You don't necessarily have to have a real estate agent. My sister, she got her house through word of mouth. They were at a family function. Someone was passing away or needed to move into, assisted living, and that house, they were looking to sell it, and they were going to sell it in a month or two, but they heard about my sister and her husband wanting a house. And so they're like, hey, like, we don't need a real estate agent. We don't need to pay all those fees and commission. Like, let's just get an attorney, draft the papers, get a title agent, shake hands, exchange money, and the house is yours. So that's what they did. And off-market deals, there's zero competition. If you're the first person to find someone that is selling a house, like, you're one of one. You don't have to compete with everyone that's looking on Zillow and Redfin. When I was looking for our house, I was on Zillow and Redfin at least 5 times a day, what seemed like 2 years, and I was really discouraged, honestly. I was trying to get a house when I turned 20. As soon as I got my full-time job, all you need is like 2 stubs and I think your W-2 or maybe your tax return, which I think is I don't know the letters right now, but you just need to prove that you have income coming in and that you have good credit, and basically, they run the numbers, and based on the debt that you have and your history, you can get a house. Now, I was wrongly pre-approved. I went out shopping for a house and I put an offer in, and then in underwriting, it came back because they're like, hey, we screwed up. We thought you had all this experience. You didn't. And it was on my lender. The lender messed up. She thought I had more experience than I did because of how, I guess, mature she thought I was at the age I was. I don't know. But I actually didn't get to get a house when I was 20, but I knew the process. And so I failed the first time, but by the time I was 23, I put an offer in and I got it, using the tips I'm sharing right now. So you got to do something every day. Getting something off market it raises your probability by a lot, because on Zillow and Redfin, I mean, you're competing with other people, and that can get really competitive because everyone needs a house right now. There is a housing shortage, and that's why supply is down, demand's going to go up, but it still is possible if you know what you're looking for and you can kind of lock down an area, which is important to get a real estate agent if you're already looking on Zillow and Redfin. I actually sent our agent the listing and she overlooked it, and it was something that I really wanted to be in. So if you have a great real estate agent, they are responsive, admirable, and experienced, and is going to help you with your plan. These are tips to help you with your plan. They'll be able to suggest a lender that they use frequently and they trust. It'll make this whole process easier because the communication will be better. You want to get a lender letter, which is a pre-approval amount that you can shop for houses with. And it's based on your income and your debt. Basically, you want a lot of money coming in and you want a low amount of debt. And they'll be able to tell you how much and how to get that number higher if you need it to be. Rocket Mortgage, I've heard good things, people getting lower rates through them than like traditional lender companies and such. I guess because they offer it to they just write more loans. So, I guess they have like a bulk discount. I'm not sure how it works, but I've heard really good things from Rocket Mortgage. Some mindset things here. Your first home is not going to be your starter home. Your first home is not going to be your dream home. It's going to be your starter home. And you want to live there for at least 7 years. Like, this is not the McMansion with the pool and the nice grass and all of that. This is where you're going to be living, maybe raise a kid or two, and that you're going to have to put some effort into. Owning a house is like having a child, from what I hear. And what I've experienced is that it always needs your attention. Your starter home is to get you in the market, get you paying down on the loan, building equity, increasing your net worth. So this is not where you're retiring at and raising and chasing the grandkids. Like, we're not there yet. We're 23. So another part of this smart plan here is to do the renovations yourself. That saved us so much money because basically you want to take however much it costs and then double it, because that's how much labor costs. And I've kind of found that to be my golden rule. It's like, okay, I can buy the materials or I can pay double what the materials cost and hire out all this stuff and spend a bunch of money. And so I've been able to save half, in my mind, boy math, right, on all of this renovation work that I've had to do by doing it all myself. And there's tons of resources online. Books at the library, for Pete's sake. I've actually read one of those for like a bathroom project. The information is out there, and it's simple. It just might take you longer, and just budget and account for that time. When we got here, I continued to work overtime, but my free time in the evenings and the weekends were, at least half the time taken up by doing renovation projects and living in a renovation for a while. So it's tough, but that's kind of what it takes sometimes. So you guys can read all of this. You want to make sure the house has good bones. Make sure that this stuff is good. Get a survey. You don't want anything encumbering your land. You want to get these tests done. Get a home inspection. I waived a home inspection and I paid more to get our house. It was a heightened time when rates were lower and everyone was going over the asking price. Okay, you have more money to spend when the rates are lower. That's not the case right now. The market has cooled off a little bit and you're kind of able to, things are slower, so you're able to like negotiate. If something isn't right, you're able to be like, hey, you need to fix this. Back when I was getting a house, people were paying $50,000 over the asking price around the area I live, and that was like normal. It was crazy. So we had to do the same thing. I didn't get a home inspection. I gave them more than they were asking, and I was wanting a response that day. And they were like, okay, this person's obviously eager and wants this. We're going with you. And boom, we got a house. So with it being slower, take your time, get a home inspection, drive by it at night, roll your windows down, listen. Are there animals making a lot of noise? Are there things that make you feel unsafe? Do your due diligence. Okay. Um, if possible, buy in the path of development. This will only serve to increase the sale price of your home when you actually go to sell. I said this earlier, but plan to live there in 7 years, and that is a hedge against market fluctuations at any one time. At a very minimum, try to live there for at least 2 out of 5 years, because if you do, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on the equity that or the profit that you get from the sale of your home. If you're single, that's 250 currently, and 500 if you're married. So look up that tax code, get familiar with that. That's a really good thing to know. If you live in a cheap area and you work in an expensive one, that is a great way to kind of siphon out the money from the expensive area and live. I mean, that we have done that same thing. We work in an expensive county compared to the one that we actually reside in, where our house is at. The most dramatic one I know is like, we live in Virginia, but West Virginia is right to our northwest. So the county, there's a panhandle of West Virginia that has cheaper houses than the houses in Loudoun County. And like that, West Virginia is known for having, the lowest everything, like median income and home prices compared to the most expensive place to live. I think it's either one or two in the entire country, is Loudoun County. So if you live in West Virginia and you're able to work in Loudoun, well, talk about speed running to retirement. So you can kind of do that same thing on a smaller scale by picking a more rural county or area and working in, say, a city or an expensive area. So Ramsey says the house shouldn't cost more than your 25% of your take-home pay. I got around this as a young person by getting a 30-year loan, and obviously, well, not obviously, but my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, I was kind of, it was a little risky, but I'll get to my backup plans, but I was kind of relying on her to be with me and us getting this house, like full transparency. She was paying, we had been together for like 5 years, 6 years at that point. I trusted her. I knew I was going to propose, like all of these things, before I made that decision. So it's not like we were together for 1 or 2 years and jumping into purchasing a house. But I kind of calculated our house as if we were a household, even though we weren't married, which some people would advise against. And if my kid was in that situation, I'd probably say, put a ring on it before you go making those calculations. But we all get to live with our choices, and I made a right one. And that's that. I had a lot of trust. It had been 6 years, five years, and I ended up proposing like after the first year of being in our home, which is an awesome story. So on to backup plans, right? This is where my father actually gave me some good advice here. He always told me, and this was like the most comforting thing. He's like, hey, if you buy this thing, you can always sell it. If you're really in a jam, you can sell it. I know that you're a go-getter and you're going to improve this house in some way. You're going to recoup your money. The rule number one is just not to lose your money. So you can sell it. And I was like, oh, I never thought of that. He's like, yeah, you can't afford it, sell it. So just know where you're going to go when you sell it. Are you going to go back to your parents' house? Are you going to rent in town? Are you going to rent with a roommate or a friend or whatever? Have a plan for what you do if shit hits the fan. It helped us sleep at night by having a $10,000 emergency fund, and we ended up needing it because we didn't do a home inspection. Like, I had to have this. I didn't know what was going to crop up. I bought the house sight unseen from Nashville, and I just had a feeling that it was going to be a good one. Don't do what I did. Do your due diligence. Take it slow. I was house hungry, but at the same time, I was also insane. Or not insane, but maybe a little obsessed, looking at maybe $10,000 different houses and settling on the one that we found because I knew exactly what I was looking for. It was grandma's house, and I found it, and then I've made it more of like a modern farmhouse, but or contemporary, however you wanna look at it. But before I even sell this, I was thinking to myself, and I read a book called House Hacking by what is his name? I gotta shout him out. House Hacking by Craig Curlop, and he basically said if you buy a house, and you have a bunch of rooms, we have what potentially could be like 5 bedrooms if we needed to convert something, maybe even 6 if we converted like the living room. But basically, you can rent out rooms in your house, and you're providing someone a service. It's housing. I don't. Maybe that's not a service, but if you're providing someone housing, you can charge for that, and you can get a lot more money uh, quickly if you charge per room, and you can manage everyone. So that was a really inspiring book, and he basically retired early by house hacking, and you just get together a good group of people that you can trust. You set some ground rules, and you start renting out the rooms, and they're paying the mortgage. You're living for free. There's savings that you're having because you're not having to pay the mortgage, and you can save up really quickly. Buy another one, do the same thing while the same people are in your house. You just find new people, you screen them, and he goes through that entire process. And that made me feel very comfortable in purchasing a home because I was like, okay, if I really had to find someone to rent out a room, I can stick them on this side of the house, and I'd be comfortable with that because I don't want to lose my house. Um, because I was young, and getting a house is always a reach. Um, it just always seems that way when you're young, and maybe even when you're older. It's a reach until it's not. And um, yeah, looking back, like it's the best decision I've ever made. Everyone always says that. They're always saying, the people I've talked to, that it was a reach at the beginning, but as time went on, your mortgage is the same, and you continue to make more money if you're continuing to be proactive in your career. So I can't say enough good things about home ownership. Please be aware of these things. Google it, be resourceful. You don't want to end up with these things. I can say I've ended up with a couple of these things, and it's not too fun, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's why you have an emergency fund and your 2 hands. Just make sure that you wear masks when you're doing renovations. Don't go at it without a mask and gloves, and just protect yourselves. You get one body, and you don't want mold or asbestos getting in your lungs, or radon and developing cancer and having a shorter life because you were being cheap at the beginning of it. Um, you know, I can say that I have done things without a mask, and I have been exposed to a couple things, but um, nothing life threatening. But I didn't realize the risk. So I'm sharing with you, if you're doing any renovation, wear a mask. If you're in the attic, wear a mask. If you're in the crawl space, wear a mask. Wear a mask. Wear protective gear to protect yourself and your lungs and your body so you don't develop cancer later on because you got a house young. Take some more of this advice here. You want to be resourceful. You want to surround yourself with the right people, all of those things. You want to be frugal. You want to read good things. This one right here is important. You can go to Zillow, and you can type this into Google, actually, Zillow Mortgage Calculator, and you can run your numbers. You can hit the advanced setting, and you can really dial in what the property tax will be for your area, your county. If you're in the town, you're going to have to pay town tax as well. So kind of looking at that, if that applies to you. You can guesstimate your home insurance. It's always higher. Everyone's saying, oh, home insurance is cheap. They were telling us it was going to be $100 a month. It has never been $100 a month ever. It's been like $180, and they're like, "Oh, you're paying way too much." Okay, well, who's your insurance agent? Oh, well, this person. I asked them. They're like, "No, it's a competitive rate." So it's lower now. You can get an insurance broker But just budget and be reasonable in your calculations. Don't get crazy because you have the power to kind of manipulate numbers here and convince yourself and do what Charlie Munger calls mental gymnastics. Don't do any of that. It should be very simple. You should understand it. It should be back of napkin math, almost. Um, and the last thing I'll leave you with is that this should be fun to a point. Fun in the sense that it's a challenge. If you like challenges and you like becoming a better version of yourself, you're ambitious. I imagine the person getting a house young or whenever they decide, you don't have to be young. This video is about being young and getting home, but it's about the person who decides that they want a house and they're going to go after and they're going to get it because they want it and it's a must. They don't want to rent and they don't want to live at home anymore with their parents. So, keep it fun. Never force yourself to do something that takes so much energy. It's much better, I have found, and sustainable to find different ways to challenge myself and to grow that way than gritting my way through something that I'm not enthusiastic about. There are so many different dials that you can skew to make this a reality for yourself without doubling down on your weaknesses. Double down on your strengths instead. If you like making a lot of money, go make a lot of money. Figure out how to do that. If defense is your thing and you're feeling guilty about income, don't. Save every buck you can. Maybe the person you find, if it takes two for you as well, is better at making money, but you're better at keeping money. Okay, let them make money and you lead by example and you do things that make it easier for them to save. Maybe you're better at budgeting, so on and so forth. Complement your partner, but double down on your strength. So money thermometers was a great one. Just having visual progress. We'd have a meter bar that we would just, anytime we threw money at VT Sacks, we'd color it in a little bit more and we'd watch it grow, and we were just continuing to pack money away into that account. This is increasing your net worth. Most people's net worth, if you look it up, the median is more accurate than the average. It's not super high. So if you're following these steps and you're working hard, you're already doing the most. And you're quickly going to get ahead. But it doesn't matter about other people. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's most important to run your own race. I probably sound like a parent, or maybe a parent you should have had or something. But focus on you. It doesn't matter about anyone else. Because as soon as you start caring about others, in the sense of like their opinions about what you're doing, or you're comparing yourself to them, like they have done work that you haven't seen. They have gotten opportunities that you haven't seen. Like for whatever reason, they are where they are. And you can't do any, you don't have any control about anyone else. You do have control over your actions. And that's all you need. Because as soon as you start focusing on you and your actions, like you control 80% of your reality. Leave the 20% alone. The weather, the politics, the people, their thoughts, their feelings. As soon as you start putting all your focus on that, then they're controlling your life. Because you're not focusing on what is in your control. Read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The first chapter, you'll get your money's worth. All this being said, go get your house. You can do it. I did it. We're all go-getters. We can do it. It's still possible. It's hard. It's worth it. It's worth it, especially if you're going to have a family. That was the whole drive. That and retiring early. Those are my drives. And I'm still working on it. It's not a journey that ever stops. It's a very long-term goal, and it's different for everyone. And everyone comes from many different backgrounds. And what we all have to remember is that people with less stuff than us, less opportunity, less money, whatever, have gotten further than us because they have just decided to do that. They have just decided to take whatever they have, doesn't matter, focus on themselves and go get it. That's it. And they had nothing. There are people from third world countries that come to America and are doing better than most Americans. They didn't even speak English. They didn't even grow up here. They don't even know anyone. But because they have a good work ethic, they learn a language and a skill, save and invest, like they're set up. So people with less are doing even better. So hopefully this resonates something. Let me know if you need me to make another video on this yucky stuff, because this is really bad. I didn't want to make a whole video on this. I will if you need me to. Let me know. Peace out.